Welcome back to another episode of Beyond Rockets. In this episode, I sit down and talk with Ben Schmanke, a local full-time YouTuber whose channel AuthenTech has amassed over 380,000 subscribers. First off, thank you for taking the time to sit down and talking with me. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I'm Ben Schmanke. I run AuthenTech YouTube channel and been doing it full time for about 6 years now. And I try to create authentic reviews of tech. That's where the name comes from. And so it's a super wide net. I do everything from drones and action cameras to big screen TVs and GoPros and electric
Everything.
scooters. Yeah, and all the fun tech stuff.
Yeah. Are you originally from Huntsville, or did work or family bring you here?
Okay, so yeah, family brought me here. I'm originally from the Chicagoland area, and then my wife and I moved over to San Diego. We were there for a couple years. Loved it, but just got really expensive and a few other details. And so then we came over to here to Huntsville just about 3 to 4 years ago. We had some family that moved here. And so, we really like it. Love the Huntsville area.
Prior to starting YouTube like 6 years ago, what were you doing for work?
Okay, yeah. So before YouTube, I studied film in college, and then what did I do? Oh, I did a lot of freelance. I kind of started a business called Schmanke Media, and so I had commercial clients and just small little brands that I'd make, videos and promos and website stuff, things like that. I did some photography, did some cool real estate, drone work, and things like that. And I was always into the tech camera scene and researching products before I buy them and stuff like that. And so that's kind of how I got started into the YouTube spaces. I just started making YouTube videos on products that I was going to buy, for fun.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it came from, I guess.
So the skills that I'm assuming the skills that you learned in school and the kind of the work you were doing prior to YouTube helped prepare you for the YouTube scene, recording videos yourself, learning how to edit. What kind of skills did you not know when you were working on that, like the freelance stuff that you had to learn when you started doing YouTube? Was the editing differently? Was the kind of talking to the camera something you were used to? Or what kind of things did you have to develop over the time?
Great question. Yeah, there's so many things to hit on. One is I was always used to being behind camera. I never thought of myself as like on-screen talent. I didn't like being on camera. Now, just over years of practice, you just kind of learn to care less about how you look and sound, and just kind of get over that and care less about what other people think. So I've gotten a little bit more comfortable on camera, but I'm still working on that. I feel like every single video I'm practicing becoming more authentic on camera and genuine and be myself sort of thing. And so I think that's a muscle to strengthen that I've been working on over the years. And then regarding like editing and shooting, when you work for clients, it's so funny because it's like they have expectations and goals. And if I'm making a 30-second, Facebook video for them or their website that is so different, and on making a review video on a product. And so I've been trying something to learn is like retention. That's one of the key metrics on YouTube. And so editing and shooting and storytelling based upon the retention of the audience. And you want to hook them and hold them as long as possible, as we've talked a lot about before. And so your editing has to change. And it's funny, I also run an Instagram and TikTok and those sort of social platforms to kind of complement each other. And technically, you should be editing a little bit different for each of them because your audience is different. And so trying to understand who my audience is and their interests and a lot of struggles along the way. But that's one of the things I love about YouTube is that you're constantly adapting and having to pivot and change your strategies and stuff like that, I guess.
So when you first had the idea of starting your YouTube channel, was it because you didn't see somebody doing reviews like the way you thought they should be done, or did you think you could just do it better than the way they were doing it?
Yeah, I think definitely a little bit of both. I think if I was researching a product that I wanted to purchase, and then I looked on YouTube and it was like, oh, there's no reviews of this product, or there's just a couple, but they're not done right or well. Like, hey, I'm going to buy it. Like, let me review it anyway and try to add value to the audience, to the viewer, so that they can help their purchasing decision and stuff. So that's kind of where it was all rooted.
So when it sounds like when you finished school and you kind of started doing your Spanky Media as like kind of your freelance stuff, that kind of like the entrepreneurial journey was something you started off really quickly. Is that something you always thought you were going to be doing? You always thought you were going to be working for yourself, and that's what you always imagined as your career path, or is that something that kind of over the years you started developing that skill and that interest?
Yeah, definitely. From as long as I can remember, I mean, young teens. I've always had the entrepreneur mind. My dad was an entrepreneur and had his own business, and so maybe that played a big role in it. But I love the idea of building a business and being your own boss and that sort of thing. And so when I was young teens, I was part of this. I think it was Boersma Group. I don't know if anyone knows that. It was like an online. It wasn't even kind of pre-web. It was more like call in through a telephone into like a conference call and talk entrepreneurism and yeah, it was just crazy. And I mean, I was really young, and then back then I always loved playing with video too. So I'd borrow my dad's camcorder, or I bought this old like DV something, and would play with stop motion and just make videos for fun. So I think that's always kind of been in my DNA of like growing a business and the entrepreneurship, but then also like making fun videos and yeah, that content creation game, I guess.
Yeah. So when you first started your YouTube channel, was the success just right off the bat, or how long did it take you, and how many videos did you put out before you started kind of seeing traction and seeing the like I can do this full time kind of?
Yeah, I wonder, I don't know how many. In the beginning, it's very slow growth. It's definitely a grind. It takes a lot of patience. I think Sean Cannon always calls it a marathon, not a sprint. And, that is so true. So I remember I did a few Android Auto or Android Smart watch videos, and I think a DJI Phantom or video. I don't even remember, but it's just very small numbers. And you're like, let me push this out to Reddit and this forum and try to get as many eyeballs on it as possible. And then, so it was very slow growth. And I think going into it, knowing that it just had to be for fun. And that's authentically, I don't know, I guess how I got into it is I was just having fun and trying to add value and stuff. I know a lot of people want to get into the game for just making money, and most YouTubers will tell you, like, don't do it for the money. Because as soon as, you might not get those numbers, or if you do, that doesn't bring satisfaction either. And so it was slow growth in the beginning, and then it was back in the big one. I don't know if you want to jump into that.
But I mean, like you're like looking through your channel. I mean, there's a lot of different videos that you can see, like your most popular video, and then kind of throughout the 6 years you've done it. One of your most popular videos was a video that came out almost 6 years ago, and it has over 15 million views. Tell me a little bit about that video and just the kind of the moment when you started seeing it kind of explode.
Yeah, that was so fun, man. I wish everyone could experience it. It was, the first kind of big viral hit that I had, that it was all on the hoverboard. And I think everyone here knows the popularity of the hoverboard craze. And so by God's grace, and the timing was just right, because you'll see the timing and topic is always has to be kind of like the stars have to align perfectly. And so I started seeing hoverboards starting to just get a little popular with the bigger YouTubers. I think Casey had just gotten one, and Jesse from Prank vs. Prank just got one, and I saw a couple filmmakers get them to like use it as like a Steadicam. And so I took the risk of just buying one. I think it was Amazon or something. It was a few $100, but I was thinking like it was going to be a filmmaking tool. And but then once I got on it, I'm like, man, just I don't know if you've ever been on one. The feeling of the hoverboard and that self-balancing Segway feel is just so futuristic and cool that it like self-balances you. So anyway, I'm like, hey, I want to make the first review. I remember clearly searching for like hoverboard review, and there was just like nothing out there.
Well, I guess crazy to think about now, because like, I mean, if you Google hoverboard, I mean, you're gonna be flooded with tens of millions of videos of hours and hours of content, very specific content, and for different brands, different kinds, different audiences, different uses. But at the time, I mean, to see nothing, I mean, was it scary to think that, oh, maybe this isn't the time to do it, maybe I should wait till someone else has already done it? Or were you like, I'm going to jump in and be the first person to do it?
Yeah, I think that was probably it. It's like, I just got to be the first. I just got to get into it. And I probably had no idea, like had any expectations, the growth that it would have or the return on the investment. But it was just kind of like, hey, these things are cool. No one's done it. Just kind of like, let's put one out there and just see what happens. And that's what a lot of YouTube is, just like putting it out there and see what happens. And so yeah, I put it out there, and I think I have a journal somewhere of like the results and the numbers. And my wife has a really good memory, but I remember it just started like flying up fast, especially when you have a small channel. Like any numbers are
Yeah,
really
you're like,
exciting.
how is this many people seeing this video?
So I think when it hit the first million, that was like just so cool because
like how quickly did that
I don't remember. Someday I'll have to pull up my analytics and make a video on that and stuff. I think that'd be fun, revealing all the data and the analytics behind a 15 million view
which
video.
is crazy.
But it was crazy. And then to think it just kept going and going, and we were very blessed. That was the big turning point in the YouTube game, was like, wow, this can generate a lot of revenue and influence and opportunities through just one video.
And, I mean, like that video, not only did it bring you a lot of views and get a lot of traction, I mean, I'm assuming it probably brought in a lot of subscribers too at that point.
It brought in a fair bit, not as many as like you'd think. I don't remember exactly what my sub count was before and after. I need to like burn those into my brain. But I feel like I gained like, some thousands, but it wasn't like, oh, you got 15 million views, that means you got a million new subscribers.
Yeah,
definitely wasn't that. And because a lot of people, they're just searching, or it was probably recommended. Oh, that's cool, hoverboard video. Then they click the link to maybe buy one or watch someone else's video. I don't think it converted a lot. And then back then, I also didn't know, okay, now I got all these new subscribers, how to like, something I regret not doing is doubling down. I sort of kind of like made some follow-ups, but not. I could have made like a 20-part series on like, hey, here's like hoverboards to stay away from, because remember they were blowing up. I didn't really do much of that. I just kind of continued doing more of what I was originally doing. So, but yeah, it was a huge blessing, because that's what opened my wife's and I's eyes to the YouTube game and the views and the money and stuff like that. And we're like, we need to go all in on this, like, because it was just tinkering with it for fun before that.
So when that like video became so popular and you guys saw the success, was that the moment you went full time for YouTube? And so like, were you balancing both? Like, how often were you putting out a video when you weren't full time? Was it like once a month, once every couple weeks?
Yeah, probably once every couple weeks or something. I could be totally wrong, but that's what I think it was. And then when that one started just kind of blowing up, we're like, okay, we need to like take this serious, like really go all in. There's so much cool potential here. And if you think about YouTube 6-7 years ago, it was a whole different game than it is now. And so I think I really started phasing out a lot of my just business clients for my own freelance work. And thank the Lord, Missy was still working so we could kind of pay the bills, because besides that one video, it's not like your next one's going to get a million views either, right? But it's definitely a quantity game, and trying to put out more after that.
So you talked a little bit earlier about you're not really being originally from Huntsville, but kind of living in those bigger cities like in San Francisco and stuff like out in California. Do you think that living in Huntsville has hurt or helped your growth as YouTube? As many of the YouTubers that are like the really popular ones are in LA and New York.
Yeah, that's a great question. I do miss. We lived in San Diego, and it was kind of north side, so we were maybe only an hour outside of LA. And as most people probably know, most of the biggest YouTubers are New York or LA. And yeah, I had some cool opportunities to do collabs. I remember YouTube invited me something to their main studios. DJI invited me to this cool, live drone event. And from where I was, it was just an hour drive. It was not bad. And that was one of my biggest fears, was moving over to Huntsville. It's like, it's something like when you could take a drone or a scooter and you put it on a beach and palm trees, like it just looks cool.
Yeah, it already has, it's already on the trending page.
Yeah, it's selling itself. Like, your shots could be kind of poopy and they'll still look good. So I'm like, is Huntsville our brand's not gonna want to work with me? And by God's grace, so like I didn't see any slowdown. Like it's just continued since then. Huntsville's beautiful. We have some, smallish mountains and lakes and stuff like that. So you can still get pretty B-roll shots. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's all about the story and the personality and stuff like that. So yeah, the one thing I do really miss though is like I've kind of grown some friends on YouTube over the years, and most of them are out there in LA, and it'd be fun to just meet up and do a collab.
And it's kind of hard when they're miles and miles and thousands of miles away from you. I couldn't, like, you talked a little bit about some of the events that you were able to go to, and some of I guess being in the tech related scene, you're in the tech scene, you're reviewing products, you're getting products, you're testing things, you're buying them yourself, whatever that might be. You've been able to go to some pretty cool events and probably meet some really cool people. What are some of the coolest people that you've met YouTuber wise that that kind of, where it's like a shocking moment to you that you didn't imagine you would ever meet this person, but you're at an event with them and talking with them?
Yeah, there was, so two of the big events were CES. I've been to CES. That's a big consumer electronics show in Vegas. I've been there a couple years. That's just really fun because all the tech brands are there and you get a hands-on and talk with those, brands, PR people, stuff like that. But then there's a lot of content creators there too. So I got to meet I think it was Dan from What's Inside and Jerry Rig Everything. I got to interview him. He's a really nice guy. And I met Casey. I met Sean Cannell, interviewed him. So I got to meet a lot of cool people at CES. It's a fun event. And then the other big one that was probably the best of the best was Sony Camera Camp. And that was a couple years ago. I was super honored to get invited to that. And it was just all these creators playing with the Sony cameras. And we had workshops and stuff. And there I got to meet a ton of cool creators like iJustine and Jenna and man, a long list of all these cool creators that I feel like I'm still, sort of friends with today. And you've kind of built that relationship from one event. But it's just so cool and weird when you try to connect with the person through the screen, but then when you actually get to meet them in real life, it's like a whole different thing.
I mean, when you're at those events and you're meeting these other well-known YouTubers that have amassed millions and millions of subscribers, have you ever gotten to like a moment where they recognized you, or they like, hey, are you the one? Like, isn't your channel this? Or does that happen often at those events, or does it happen even in Huntsville now? Like, do you go places and people are like, hey, like, don't you have a YouTube channel? Like, I think I've seen your videos. Does that happen often?
Not too often. I feel like at the camp, there was a few people who knew my stuff, and that was actually really exciting. Like, oh, you've seen my stuff? Like, I watch your stuff. Like, cool. I didn't know that. And then there's, and then every once in a while here in Huntsville, I'll get someone who maybe, recognizes me. And if you guys ever see me, like, come up and say hello. I love to chat and just hang out. Like, I don't ever want to be that person. Like, I don't want to bother him or something. Like, come on up and say hello. I love meeting people. I was playing volleyball a couple weeks ago, and a nice gentleman I was playing with was like, hey, Ben, like, I know you. I watch you. I'm like, really? And
you know me?
Yeah. And it's so fun being able to, like, because on the other side, you got to think about it. I just, like, click upload, and then you see this little counter of views, and it's just like, oh, okay, like, those are just views, but you forget that those are, like, human eyeballs on the other side. And so to actually get to meet the person who get to watch your videos, and then I like to ask them, like, hey, what do you like? What don't you like? Stuff like that. So
that's cool.
I love meeting people who watch my content.
That's awesome. So I want to read a little bit of your YouTube stats and then kind of have a follow-up question. So looking at your YouTube channel as a whole, you have over 100 million views on your YouTube channel. You have over 387,000 subscribers, and your most viewed video has 15 million views. How much of that success over the last 6 years would you contribute to being in the right place at the right time? And how much would you contribute to your hard work?
I mean, all glory to God, and like praise him for that blessing. Without him, obviously, I don't think any of it would happen. I think, a lot of it is right time, right place, but there's a lot of strategy involved, and like, because a lot of people think, oh, you just make videos, but like, before a product comes here into the studio, there's been hours and hours of my own research into making sure like the brand and the product is somewhat reputable or has good reviews already. Because I get that question a lot. What happens when you get a bad, junky product? Well, hopefully that doesn't happen very often because I've done my research. Now, obviously, there's some things that like it's pre-release, and so you don't have any reviews. You're the first to review it, and so that happens every once in a while. But I don't know. I feel like we talked about it a little bit. It's a quantity game in the YouTube and the social media space. Like I'm currently about 1 to 2 a week, which I think it's a lot of hard work. I'd love to consistently stick with 2 a week, maybe even a little bit more to add into the hopper so that if I'm out sick or something, I can still keep up with that pace. But it's understanding trends, like if you're able to see like, oh, this fidget spinner, this looks really kind of cool. Like these things might start take off. If you're one of the first to make content on that,
you have a 15 million video,
a hoverboard, whatever it is. And so
interesting.
It's like understanding like market trends and kind of like what TikTok is now. It's like, what are the popular or the smallish to medium guys starting to like trend off and then riding that wave, just like surfing, and then it'll die down, and then you got to quick paddle out and get ready for the next wave and try to catch it on the front end. Because if you're in the middle or on the back end, you're not going to really get as much success, I don't think.
So how much of like, you're talking a little bit about the research behind I mean, there's a lot, not just I like this product and I want to review it, or I go to Best Buy and I grab this product, or order on Amazon and get it in 2 days. You do a lot of research. How much of your time do you think is spent on research versus how much of your time is actually spent recording videos?
That's a great question. Probably, man, 50-50.
Oh, wow.
I feel like, it takes a lot of time researching stuff, and we're limited by time, and so there's a million cool products I wish I could review, and I get blessed with a lot of emails every single day. Hey, Ben, will you review this? And like, I'm having to go through all those emails and being like, okay, this is lame. This is lame. Okay, this one might have cool potential. Now let me research it. You get a lot of potential, but it's like figuring out what's wise to say yes. And then finding there's also a healthy balance of doing, Sarah Dietschy claimed the like one for me, one for them. I kind of like something like that where, AuthenTech, I do all things tech. And so sometimes I'll take on a product that, I don't think is going to perform very well on my channel, but it's something that I'm personally interested in. I want to play with it and stuff like that. But then also understanding, okay, well, there's all these viewers and subscribers. Now I have to like do some content that serves them that they kind of expect from me as well. And so trying to find that healthy balance it's tough, but trying to find somewhere in the middle of doing things that I enjoy and then things that will get views and
help pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Which is crazy. I mean, I feel like being a YouTuber, it's like, you talk about the consistency. You're just trying to put out content. You're trying to put the work in needed to do it. And we were talking about off air earlier, just we both loved Casey Neistat's videos and just his ability to do the vlogs and storytelling. And he's recently talked a lot about his time he spent editing and the amount of work, and like work-life balance was a very tough thing for him. Do you find that for yourself as just being a tough thing to balance, and kind of realizing that there's a time and place to do the YouTube, and there's also a time and place to go outside and hang out with your kids and be with your wife? Like, is it a tough balance you've had to find over the last couple of years?
Yep, for sure. Very tough balance. Because I have a wife and 2 little ones, and I have a home office that we're in right now. And so it's beautiful that my work commute is nothing and I can work in PJs a lot of the time. But yes, sometimes when the little ones are like banging on my door and like, come on, Papa, come on and play with me. It's like, man, it's hard to turn that down,
That sounds like a great idea.
And it's a blessing and a curse. It's like, okay, well, I have this business that I run, this entrepreneur thing that like I have those freedoms. So like, let me put down the work for an hour and go play with them or go for a walk or whatever it is. But then the pressures of like, if I'm not working, no one is. I'm the only one running this AuthenTech thing. And so there's those pressures of like, it's a pretty day outside and the rest of the week is going to be cloudy. Like I should be shooting content right now. It's a hard balance for sure. But I feel like I don't work. I mean, I feel like I work a fair bit, but I'm somewhere between maybe like 30 to, 50 hours a week. Like, cause sometimes the weekends I'll work a little bit, but sometimes throughout the day, I'll just put in a couple hours here, family time, couple more hours. And so there's a lot of freedom and flexibility, which is awesome. But the pressures of like constantly having to like, if I'm not working, no one's making videos and I have to keep up that consistency, like at least 1 per week, maybe 2. That's weighs a little heavy sometimes.
And I think, being in the tech scene too, there's always things coming out. There's always new tech being adopted, new products being released. I feel like it's almost a tough thing to shut off it, because like even though like I don't do tech reviews, I love tech and I love being able to see tech, and I think that's one of the things that like I see the most of whenever I'm on my phone, and I feel like that's even twice as much for you, that like shutting off the tech scene and what is being announced in tech. It's like, even if you're not in your office working, you're probably still being bombarded with tech related things. I feel like that would be a tough thing. Looking at your journey and over the last 6 years of doing YouTube, what is something that you wish you would have known when you first started that you know now?
There's so much. Thankfully, back when I was, 6 years ago, if you Googled like how much does a YouTuber make or all these like strategies, there wasn't much out there. And nowadays there's so many like I said, Sean Cannell's channel and Daryl Eves, and there's these YouTubers who dedicated their whole YouTube like careers on like teaching others on how to grow YouTube channel and stuff. There's so many cool resources now and books. I feel like, I don't know, just the reminders of patience and, it's a quantity game. I know some YouTubers will say like, oh no, it's all about quality. Like I think Mr. Beast Jimmy once said something like, if it takes you 5 hours into like a 5-second clip, like do it. It's worth it. They'll notice it. And I don't know. I mean, he's on a whole other level, so I don't know if you can really like portray that stuff. But it's like maybe you can spend a little extra time on those good quality parts, but I don't think it's just quality. I think it's definitely a quantity game because more and more everyone's got smartphones and they're uploading. And so when I hit upload on a video, I'm competing against like 100 billion hours that's uploaded that day and a million other people who are trying to cover that same topic or niche, stuff like that. So it's high competition.
For sure.
It's not for the weary, but I'm super blessed to be in a position of having fun and play with tech and make videos on it and just trying to stay consistent and, stay humble and all those things.
So you talked a little bit about some of the YouTube channels that there are out that kind of give you advice about how you could start a channel yourself and how you can kind of grow and be successful on YouTube. What advice would you personally give to somebody who's looking at starting their own YouTube channel, but is kind of doubting whether or not someone's going to be interested in what they have to say?
I think a couple things. One is a lot of people want to get hooked up on gear, like, oh, I don't have the right this or that. Well, we live in a day where like this thing right here, I probably shoot a lot of my videos and the B-roll and stuff on a smartphone, on the iPhone or whatever. They record such good quality, and you got double or triple cameras in it. So it's like you've got 3 lenses in one and great battery life and stuff like that. So gear can't be your hiccup or preventing you to start. And then what was the other thing I was going to say is just you have to add value, I think, is the thing. If you can do entertainment and education at the same, if your personality is very comfortable on camera and you can provide value, well, then that's like the perfect marriage of like a good video, and so knowing who your audience is and asking them like, what do they want to see? And then if you're starting from super scratch, you kind of have to really either set yourself apart from the competition in a unique way. Either you find something that hasn't been done before, or if it's already been done 100 times, you have to have kind of like your fresh take on it, something that's new. Because if you're just trying to copy other people, then you're not going to stand out.
And I think that's like one of the things that I watch a lot of Peter McKinnon and stuff like that. And like the perspective is always something he talked a lot about. Like taking the picture in a perspective that someone else doesn't really see it. Like everyone's getting the top down view or they're going up at the view, but getting that weird angles that the perspective that the normal person isn't really seeing, but kind of is entertaining and kind of creates that entertainment for the consumer. Looking over the last 6 years of your growth on YouTube, what are some of the goals you have moving forward for the next 6 years, and what are you hoping to continue to do more of, and hoping to maybe try that you haven't done before?
I don't know. I mean, I want to just survive. It's kind of like talking about the competition thing. I mean, I stand back and I'm very honored to be in this position to think about like we have a global audience or a global creator economy, and there's thousands if not millions of people who want to become a full-time YouTuber. And so I'm blessed to say that like I am a full-time YouTuber, but to know that like they're not necessarily competing with me, but like you can't stay what's the word? You can't stay like stagnant, right?
Yeah.
Because you'll definitely die if you're not like adapting and pushing forward. And so I don't want to ever become just like complacent. That's the word.
Yeah.
I don't want to be complacent or too comfortable. And I have to be changing up my storytelling techniques and shots and things like that. So I want to stay fresh, and I want to serve my audience well with like providing value and entertainment. And what's cool is over the years, I've been able to see like more and more brand deals and opportunities come through, but to think that I've just barely scratched the surface since the tech world is so big.
Yeah.
And there's like a million other brands that it'd be really fun to work with someday. And so that's kind of exciting, is that like there's really no ceiling. And so I want to stay faithful with what I have and just kind of go one day at a time. And have fun with it too. Because at the end of the day, I remind myself, like, you're just making videos for online, and there's a lot of hard work into it, right? But like, you're not doing heart surgery or something. Like, I'm not saving lives over here. I'm just making some fun tech videos.
And I think that's like the balance you kind of have to get as you like start having the success, and over your success too over the last 6 years. You have to find the balance of creating content that the consumer likes, but also content that it brings you value. Because at the end of the day, like you said, if you're dreading doing this video but you know it's going to do successful, that if you're dreading the work put in for the video, then you're just not going to enjoy you got to enjoy the process every single day. The process is, I mean, like you said, you're just pressing an upload button and you're waiting and you're hoping. You can only do so much work, but if you don't like the hours you spend editing on Final Cut or recording the same clip in the same angle 14 times because you can't get the right sun to do this or that or whatever it might be, then I mean, you're just not going to enjoy it every single day. Even if it is your home office, you're not having to go anywhere. You're just not going to enjoy it.
That's right. Definitely just enjoying the process. I think Gary Vee always talked about that as like enjoying the journey. And thankfully, I've always loved making videos. And so kind of reminding myself to get back to the roots. Like, you're just making videos. And I think it'll shine through about exactly what you're saying, is that like, if I'm dreading the product or the video, like, that will probably portray through the video or, how I come off on camera or something like that. And so just having fun with it, and again, staying fresh and stuff like that.
How can people connect with you and support you in what you're doing? I mean, obviously they could go to your thing, but what are some of the best ways to kind of engage with you on a daily basis?
Okay, yeah. So find me on YouTube. Just search AuthenTech or Ben Schmanke. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all under @Schmanke. That's my last name, Ben Schmanke. And shoot me a DM if you have any questions or anything. My number 2 social platform is Instagram. That's the one where I post stories of behind the scenes, and we're hanging out today, filming a podcast and stuff like that. And then I'm always looking for potential help too. So if there's any creatives who are listening to this who are in the local area that want to either like collab or hang out or shoot videos or ride electric scooters and do cool drone shots, stuff like that, I'm always down for meeting new people.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me. It's been great learning more about your journey on YouTube and the growth you've had over the years. And I continue to look forward to the success you'll have on YouTube for years to come.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, man. And make sure any AuthenTech followers here, make sure you subscribe to this podcast. And I'll see you around, man. Yeah.